أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Surah 106, Quraish, the Quraish, Meccan period. Title. The opening word of the Surah, Quraish, also serves as its title. Period of revelation. Although Dahak and Kalbi speak of it as a Medinan surah, the vast majority of Quranic scholars regard it as Meccan. Verse 3 of this surah constitutes the internal evidence for its Meccan origin. Had it been Medinan, it could not contain the allusion, the Lord of his house, the Kaaba in Mecca. In its theme, too, it is closely linked with Surah Al-Fil and may have been revealed during the same period. Since both the surahs have so much in common, some scholars take the two surahs as one. This view gained some support in the light of the report that in Ubay ibn Ka'b's Quran Codex, both were written together without the usual demarcation of Basmallah. Moreover, Umar once recited both together without any break. However, this view is not sound. The official Quran Codex prepared by Usman, with the active cooperation of a large number of companions, carries the usual line of demarcation between the two surahs. Since then, to this day, these have been universally recognized as two independent surahs. They also differ markedly in their style, leaving no doubt whatsoever that they are two separate surahs. Circumstantial setting. A study of its circumstantial setting is essential for both its better appreciation and for grasping its thematic affinity with Surah Al-Fil. Until the era of Qusay ibn Kilab, the Prophet's ancestors, the Quraysh, were scattered across Hijaz. He gathered them together in Mecca and ultimately gained the custodianship of the Kaaba. He therefore earned the title of Muja'amma, the gatherer. Gifted with statesman-like qualities, he established Mecca as a city-state and provided excellent facilities for pilgrims from all parts of Arabia. Gradually, the Quraysh earned the respect of all the tribes in the region. After Qusay's death, his sons Abd Manaf and Abd al-Dar held coveted offices in the state of Mecca. Of the two, the former had gained greater fame even in his father's time and was held in much esteem by Arab tribes. Abd Manaf had four sons, Hashim, Abd Shams, Muttalib, and Nawfal. Hashim, Abd al-Muttalib's father and the Prophet's great-grandfather, was the first to embark upon international trade on the route between the eastern regions and Syria and Egypt. This trade was to help meet local needs and of the tribesmen on the route. It would also attract traders to Mecca as a commercial center. By that time, the Persian Empire enjoyed its monopoly over trade activities between the northern regions and parts of the Roman Empire and the eastern region through the Persian Gulf. Indeed, trade activities flourished on the route from South Arabia to the Red Sea coast on the way to Syria and Egypt. As compared to other tribes, the Quraysh trade caravans enjoyed respect in their capacity as the custodians of the Kaaba among all the Arab tribes living beside the route. As they used to extend lavish hospitality to pilgrims, everyone stood indebted to them. They did not apprehend any attack on their trade caravans, nor did they have to pay exorbitant toll taxes to which other tribes were subject. With an eye on all these factors, Hashim drew up his plan for trade in partnership with his three brothers. They secured trade facilities and concessions from the rulers of Ghassan, Abyssinia, Yemen, and Iraq. Their trade had roaring success, and they were widely acclaimed as businessmen. They were known as the people of Al-Ilaf, literally those who promote love, in recognition of their contacts and pacts with neighboring tribes and states. Thanks to this trade activity, the Quraysh developed contacts with people from Syria, Egypt, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, and Abyssinia. This exposure raised their social status, and they grew in maturity and insight without any competing Arab tribe. They were the richest in Arabia, and Mecca turned into a hub of business and trade. As a result of their interaction with the Iraqis, they learnt the script in which the Quran was written at a later date. The Quraysh was the most literate tribe. For all of these accomplishments, the Prophet, peace be upon him, branded them as leaders of people. Ahmed, on the authority of Amr ibn al-As, Bayhaqi cites Ali's report that the Prophet, peace be upon him, remarked, "The Himyar tribe enjoyed the leadership of the Arabs. Then Allah took it away from them and bestowed it on the Quraysh. While the Quraysh had been recording all-round advances, they faced Abraha's attack. Had Abraha been successful in demolishing the Kaaba, both the Quraysh and the Kaaba would have lost their long-standing prestige. Belief in the Kaaba as the house of God entertained throughout the Jahiliyyah period would have been shaken. The Quraysh too would have lost their privileged status of being the Kaaba's custodians. Once the Abyssinians had established their control over Mecca, the Romans would have captured the trade route between Syria and Mecca. This would have hit the Quraysh economy badly, reducing them to paupers as they had been in the past. However, as Allah miraculously saved the Kaaba and destroyed the Abyssinian army, the members of which collapsed all the way from Mecca to Yemen, it renewed, rather fortified the Arabs' belief in the Kaaba as the house of God. By the same token, it reaffirmed the prestige and glory of the Quraysh. Other Arabs realized that the Quraysh enjoyed Allah's special favor. The Quraysh fearlessly traversed the whole region along with their trade caravans, and no one dared molest them. Even non-Quraysh Arabs under their care enjoyed the same protection. Theme: these incidents were fresh in public memory when the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, appeared on the scene. The surah therefore does not delve deeply into these historical details. Rather, its 4 succinct verses address the Quraysh directly, reminding them that since they recognize the Kaaba as the house of God, and not a pantheon of idols, and since they acknowledge that they enjoy peace and security because of their association with the Kaaba, they must worship only the one true God. They also owe their flourishing trade, their protection against starvation, and their prosperity only to the Kaaba and its Lord, the one true God.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate.
لإيلاف قريش.
Since the Quraysh became accustomed.
1. The word alaf, as used in the original, is from alf, which means to be habituated and accustomed to be reunited after breaking up, and to adopt something as a habit. About the lam that is prefixed to alaf, some Arabists have expressed the opinion that it is to express surprise and wonder. Thus, li-alafi Qurayshin means, how surprising is the conduct of Quraysh. It is only by virtue of Allah's bounty that they are reunited after their dispersion, and have become accustomed to the trade journeys which have brought them their prosperity. And yet from Allah's worship and service they are turning away. This is the opinion of Akfash, Kisai and Farah, and holding this opinion as preferable, Ibn Jarir writes, when the Arabs mention something after this lam, the same thing itself is regarded as sufficient to show that the attitude and conduct a person has adopted in spite of it is surprising and amazing. On the contrary, Khalil bin Ahmad, Sibawayh and Zamakhshari say that this is the lam of Talal, and it relates to the following sentence: Afaya Budu Rabba had albayt, which means, Allah's blessings on the Quraysh are countless. But if for no other blessing, they should worship Allah at least for this blessing, that by His bounty they became accustomed to the trade journeys. For this by itself is indeed a great favor of Allah to them.
إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف.
Accustomed to the journey of winter and summer.
2. That is, the trade journeys. In summer the Quraysh traveled northward to Syria and Palestine, for they are cool lands, and in winter southward to Yemen, etc., for they are warm.
فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت.
Therefore, let them worship the Lord of this house.
3. This house, the Holy Kaaba. The sentence means that the Quraysh have attained to this blessing only by virtue of the house of Allah. They themselves acknowledge that the 360 idols, which they worship, are not its Lord, but Allah alone is its Lord. He alone saved them from the invasion of the army of elephants. Him alone they had invoked for help against Abraha's army. It was his house the keeping of which enhanced their rank and position in Arabia, for before that they were dispersed and commanded no position whatever. Like the common Arab tribes, they too were scattered factions of a race. But when they rallied round this house in Mecca and began to serve it, they became honorable throughout Arabia, and their trade caravans began to visit every part of the country fearlessly. Therefore, whatever they have achieved, it has been possible only by the help of the Lord of this house. Therefore, They should worship him alone. 1. The
الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف.
Who fed them against hunger and secured them against fear.
4. The allusion implies that before the Quraysh came to Mecca, they were a scattered people in Arabia and living miserable lives. After their gathering together in Mecca they began to prosper, and the Prophet Abraham's, peace be upon him, prayer for them was literally fulfilled when he had prayed, Lord, I have settled some of my descendants in a barren valley near thy sacred house. Lord, I have done this in the hope that they will establish Salat there, so turn the hearts of the people towards them, and provide fruits for their food. Surah Ibrahim, Ayat 37. 5. Secure against fear. Secure from the fear from which no one anywhere in Arabia was safe. There was no settlement anywhere in the country the people of which could sleep peacefully at night, for they feared an attack any time from any quarter by some unknown enemy. No one could step out of the bounds of his tribe for fear of life or of being taken prisoner and made a slave. No caravan could travel safely from fear of attack, or without bribing influential chiefs of the tribes on the way for safe conduct. But the Quraysh were immune from every danger. They had no fear of an attack from an enemy. Their caravans, small or big, freely passed on the trade routes everywhere in the country. As soon as it became known about a certain caravan that it belonged to the keepers of the Kaaba, no one could dare touch it with an evil intention, so much so that even if a single Qurayshite was passing on the way, he was allowed to pass unharmed and untouched as soon as the word Harami, or Ana min Haramillah, was heard from him.